What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to discuss my favorite penny stock in the form of HighTide, ticker symbol HITIF. We're going to look through their Q1 earnings results. We'll have a brief look through that. We'll also have a look at my current position to see how it's performing, and finally we're going to discuss my plans going forward for this stock. And with all that being said, let's dive right into today's video. At the moment, HighTide is my one and only penny stock. We currently have about €8,400 invested, up 16.7% within the overall portfolio, which equates to just over €1,200 or so. And we can see here we still have €200 in free funds to take advantage of dollar cost averaging, and also looking for new opportunities next week. As it stands, we have over 164 shares in HighTide. We can see on the left here, we're up about 3.9%. However, we only have about €93 invested, mainly because it's only 60 cents or so a share at the moment. So we can see on screen it's currently trading at 67 cents, and my average cost is 64.5 cents. You can also see on the 1 month chart that it's been fairly choppy even for a penny stock. Again, even if we're up about 4% or just under that at the moment, that's probably not the best overall performance for a penny stock, but it's green nonetheless. But we can see even how kind of volatile it has been over the last month alone. But going forward, the next time this goes into the red, or my overall position goes back into the red, should I say, then I'm certainly going to start loading up a hell of a lot more to get a better dollar cost average, and hopefully start bringing this dotted average price line down even more. HighTide for me certainly has a lot of long-term potential, and like most penny stocks, it's not kind of just a hype pump and dump scheme. This really is a stock that I really do believe has great fundamentals. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so you really need to do your own due diligence as well before investing any of your own hard-earned capital. But I've made many long detailed videos on HighTide already, so I'll link them in the description below. But as you probably are well aware at this stage, I like to keep a tab on how my stocks are going. So for penny stocks in particular, especially because they're a lot more volatile, I like to dot down some long-term growth catalysts that will act as great catalysts going forward and drive up a share price. So for the purpose of today's video, we're going to focus on the bottom one here, the great Q1 earnings. But just to kind of recap very briefly, some other great fundamental factors that I do believe are going to pose for great opportunities going forward for HighTide are the product offering and diversification, the celebrity endorsements. Again, I've mentioned all of these in the videos linked in the description below. The great CEO in Raj, they're ever expanding, leading Canadian cannabis stock as well. They have huge potential at current prices, and I still believe that is the case. Their filings for the NASDAQ is still currently underway. Again, that's going to offer a huge catalyst if they can get onto the NASDAQ. And also mergers and acquisitions have been very well for them at the moment. But again, today's video is the full purpose on the bottom one here in the form of the great Q1 earnings. So HighTide's Q1 financial report earnings happened only a few days back, the end of March / start of April, and I actually did listen back to their overall transcript. However, Yahoo Finance have made a very good kind of synopsis or summary, and we're actually going to look through those bullet points today. Ever since HighTide's brilliant Q4 earnings for 2020, I was really looking forward and interested to see how they would compare in comparison to the Q1 earnings of 2021. Kind of a part of me was thinking that they wouldn't kind of be able to get up to the hype they did in Q4, but thankfully I was pleasantly surprised. And again, in Q1 of 2021, their results look very good. Obviously, the main purpose of every business is to make money, and penny stocks in particular, this kind of bottom line and being able to generate cash is vital. And we can see here, even the first point is very, very promising. We can see the revenue increased 179% to 38.3 million in comparison to this time last year's of 13.7 million. Now that's extremely huge increase in profits over the last 12 months. But again, it's worth noting as well that their acquisition of Meta Growth is also incorporated into these kind of revenues, but still 179% is extremely impressive. Next two metrics were gross profit and gross margin, again both doing extremely well and carrying on revenue's brilliant growth. So we can see here their gross profit has increased over 200% to 14.8 million since this time last year. Again, this is huge numbers even for a penny stock. This is all extremely promising to see. We can also see the profit margin for 2021 increased 39%, and in comparison to 35% the same quarter last year. Next, we can see that their EBITDA, which stands for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and appreciation, which is kind of a mouthful, I know. The first quarter was 4.6 million in comparison to 0.8 million or $800,000 since this time last year. Now, one thing I was concerned with in their quarter 4 earnings for 2020 was their geographical earnings in terms of outside of Canada and US markets. Now, the main reason for that was that I did believe they needed to expand outside Canada and definitely get more into the US markets to have a much better chance of expansion long term. So we can see here that geographically, the first quarter of 2021, 34.2 million of the revenues earned within Canada. Again, that's still great to see. However, I do want to see some more bigger growth outside of their home market. We can see that 3.9 million was made in the US. Now, going forward, again, one of the main catalysts is the relaxation of laws, cannabis laws within recreational use for the US. So once those laws actually do go through, and if they go through, these numbers will only be of increasing numbers. So again, that's a huge catalyst for companies such as HighTide going forward. And again, only 0.2 million or $200,000 was generated internationally. Again, going forward, this really is a market they need to focus on to help this company get bigger and bigger. You can also see segment-wise that for 2021, the first quarter, 36.8 million of the revenue was generated by retail, 1.5 million by wholesale, and an immaterial amount by corporate. Now, another thing that's just as important as profits for penny stocks in particular is cash reserves. And we can see here cash in hand as at the 31st of January 2021 was 16.6 million compared to 7.5 million in cash for the quarter 4 earnings or October 31st, 2020. Now, in terms of growth and expansion going forward, although HighTide has done extremely well in mergers and acquisitions and even growing their own product diversification and offerings, the bottom line here is key that as of today, or as of time of recording, there is 33 million in cash reserves. Now that's key for any penny stock. So HighTide have huge kind of fundamentals behind them, and they have huge backing in terms of having capital at hand. So that as well is going to make a huge difference going forward for this stock. So in terms of their overall quarter 1 earnings for 2021, I believe you'll agree as well that they are extremely well and they are doing very well for themselves, particularly for a penny stock. And even though I know every company is in the same boat, but it has been a very hard 12 months for every company across the globe for various reasons. But it's great to see penny stocks such as HighTide still doing very well and they are adapting to different market conditions. Now, another thing I really like about the stock is that they really are trying to improve their online e-commerce systems, and they really are doing that through mergers and acquisitions of such stocks or companies such as Meta Growth, which already have a great online e-commerce system. So that's very promising to see as well. In terms of my own investing, at the moment we saw earlier we have about €200 free in cash reserves. Now I do want to allocate about 100 of that, 50 into Tesla and 50 into my iShares Global Clean Energy ETF, as both are in the red at the moment, so I do want a dollar cost average in there next week as well. However, we still have €100 free cash, so I really do want to start pumping more money or capital into the stock and certainly get it at least to the 200 share mark, which will be quite easy because it's only about 65 cents a share at the moment. But definitely next week, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this stock. And as we're up about 3.9% at the moment, I don't really want to increase my overall cost on this stock. I do want to wait until it goes back into the red or even parity, which happens for all penny stocks. It will go up as well as down over the next few weeks and months. So I do really want to have cash at the ready to pull the trigger when this does drop. And when it does drop, inevitably, I will be pumping in a lot more cash. I probably will even start doubling my position and trying to get up to about 300 shares at least. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I just wanted to give a very brief update on HighTide, ticker symbol HITIF, and have a brief look through their quarter 1 earnings for 2021. Again, I am very happy with how they're doing, and those quarter 1 earnings are very promising for a long-term investor. If you found this video anyway helpful or interesting, it'd be brilliant if you could smash that like button. And I'd love to know your own thoughts and opinions on these quarter 1 earnings in the comment section below. And also, if you do hold this company, if so, how many stocks do you currently have? And are you in the green or the red?